The story is so beautiful. The fluff, I love. Where do I find another? Welcome back to another video. Before we start, happy 2023. This is actually the first video that I'm filming in the new year, and this video, from the title and thumbnail you would have seen, it is about my best books of 2022. Last year I also did this video, but I did the best and worst books together and I messed up the audio, so it was really bad. So hopefully this time it's not as bad. Last year I believe I restricted myself to 10, and I was trying to do that again for, oh my god, when I said last year I meant for 2021, okay? But okay, as I was trying to curate the books for this video for 2022, I really had a hard time trying to restrict myself to 10, which shows that one, my reading has been better for 2022 compared to 2021. It's a good thing. So rather than inflicting pain on myself by forcing myself to do just 10, I decided to do 22 instead. Except that when I was creating this list, I was happily doing it and I was thinking, oh, just nice, I have 23 because it's 2023, right? But no, it's 22. So if you want to know what book I cut, I decided to cut The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston, just because the rest of the books on this list I kind of preferred more, but it's still a really good read as well. Before we officially start, I need to give some disclaimers. Similar to the video that I did for the 2021 books, right? I will not be ranking them within each star rating that I give the book. So for this video, we have 4.25, 4.5, one 4.75, and the rest are 5 stars. Realistically, every book on this list I really recommend to everybody. I cannot choose my favorites. They have a rating, but I really cannot choose. I normally talk about trigger warnings for the books, but because this video I can foresee is going to be very long, we are not going to do that. I recommend you to look up trigger warnings online before deciding whether you want to read any of the books here, just in case. I will be giving brief synopses of each book. Hopefully they're brief. I tend to be long-winded. And if I did a video on a particular book, I will link the video up above until we hit the limit, basically, because we can only link 5 videos in the cards. If we hit the limit, the rest will be in the description box below, so I won't be explicitly saying it in the video, I think. So without further ado, let's start this video. We are going to start from the 4.25 stars. The first book that I would like to talk about, if I'm looking here, is because I am looking at the synopsis. It is Anxious People by Frederick Bachman, which was actually the first book that I finished in 2022. When I read this book, I had previously read Deal of a Lifetime by him, but I didn't really enjoy that one. And when I started this, I had higher hopes for this one because I generally heard more people talking about this book more, and it did not disappoint. I really loved it. I loved his writing style, and it feels very heartwarming and wholesome despite the trigger warnings that it has. And it's really these kind of books that I really enjoy, the heartwarming ones that touch your heart, you know. Basically what this book is about, right? It's about an apartment, basically. It's a viewing apartment and different characters show up to view the apartment, but they unexpectedly get tangled in this hostage situation because a bank robber ends up in the apartment. But at the end, after the police negotiating with the bank robber, they find that the bank robber has disappeared from the apartment, but nobody knows or is willing to say where the bank robber went and how did the bank robber even escape. So it's like this mystery. While they're doing that, we get to know about each character's backstory. So it's super good, and I really recommend it. And for me to still remember the plot despite it being the first book that I've read in 2022 is saying something. The next book is Finlay Donovan is Killing It by Al Cosimano. This one is a comedic murder mystery. It's about Finlay Donovan, who is an author, but she gets mistaken to be a hit woman after a customer in this diner overhears her talking about her latest plot to her literary agent, and it involves killing people and stuff. That customer hires Finlay to be a hit woman, and she's offered a large amount of money which she cannot refuse, so she goes on this mission. Basically, it's just super funny. It's like ridiculously funny is what I'll describe this book. I didn't really enjoy the sequel though, which is Finlay Donovan Knocks Him Dead. but I'll still read the third book, which is Finlay Donovan Jumps the Gun. I really still enjoy the first book, and I really recommend it to you if you haven't read it before. From Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata is an figure skating romance between Jasmine and Ivan Lukov. So it's kind of like hate to love, and it's like rivals to friends, then friends to best friends, then best friends to lovers, and it's, oh my god, it's so good. I didn't expect myself to enjoy this so much when I was reading it, because this book is quite long. It's like 493 pages or something like that. And the first half was super slow, and I honestly wanted to DNF, but the moment we reached the second half, right, the fluff was so good. Oh my god. I wrote in my review, where do I find another Ivan Lukov, and it's super sweet, super fluffy, and I'm just like getting like goosebumps thinking about it again. I wrote the quote, which I still like, oh my god, my heart flutters when I think about it. If I had to choose anyone to help me bury a body, eat dinner with, or watch television with, it would be you, every time, for everything. The writing is not the best, but really the characters and the fluff in the second half onwards is so worth it. I honestly thought it wasn't worth the hype for the first half, but the second half, I really totally agree. Please read it. Hidden Pictures is a book that I read recently in December for the Goodreads video. This one also won Best Horror for the Goodreads Choice Awards 2022. I really liked this book. I am still a relatively new reader when it comes to horror, because I've been super scared, like too scared to even try to pick up horror books, but recently I found that I enjoy reading horror. I've been newly introduced to the genre. Hidden Pictures is about Mallory Quinn, who has just gotten out of rehab, and she has been sober for like 18 months. She takes up this live-in nanny job to be a babysitter for Ted and Caroline Maxwell's son Teddy. Teddy likes to draw, and it's like super cute, the drawings, but they progressively get darker and darker until it's like, how can a kid draw these kind of pictures? So there's something sinister going on, and Mallory is trying to find out what exactly is behind the drawings. Is there a paranormal presence and things like that? And it's just this mystery thriller that is set in a horror setting, if it makes sense. What I liked about this book is that it actually includes the drawing, so it's like a mixed media kind of thing. And the audiobook is super good as well, because it will also narrate what the drawing is about in the audiobook, so you won't miss out on the mixed media element. That's all I'm going to say about this book, but I really enjoyed it. I couldn't stop reading it. I think I finished it in a few hours. The last book of the 4.25 category is going to be Beach Read by Emily Henry. Emily Henry is a really popular author in the booktube community, so I'm sure you would have heard about her and her books. But if you didn't know, Emily Henry has written 3 adult romances so far: Beach Read, People with Me on Vacation, and Book Lovers is the most recent one. So I recently read Beach Read in December, and I really enjoyed it. As I was reading it, I wasn't really impressed, but towards the end, as I was talking about it in my thoughts for the video, my feelings kept ruminating for it, and I decided to up my rating from 3.75 to 4.25. I'm still thinking about it even now, and it's just a book that has really grown on me. So this is why Beach Read is on this list. Even though I gave Book Lovers 4.25 as well, and Book Lovers won the Best Romance for the Goodreads Choice Awards 2022, I think I prefer Beach Read more. Might just be because that I read Beach Read more recently than Book Lovers, but that's just how I feel about this book. Beach Read is about 2 writers who end up in neighboring beach houses. So we follow January, who is a romance writer, and Augustus, also known as Gus, who is a literary writer. That's not the first time that they've met each other. They actually knew each other back in university already, but they just got reconnected on this trip. They decided to try writing a book in each other's genre. So Gus will write a happy book, a romance book, and January will write the next great American novel. So because they are the experts in their own genres, right, they will help each other. So they'll go on research trips together. They will show each other how they get their inspiration, places they like to visit, and things like that. Show them the ropes, basically. From there, a romance blossoms, and it's really like super cute. It's cute, but it's also heavy at the same time, so don't be mistaken into thinking that this is like a typical fluffy romance, because it's not. It's really a book that has a lot of depth to it. Not to say that fluffy romance novels don't have depth, but I hope you know what I'm trying to say. Both January and Gus have backstories to them, and it's like how they help each other heal from their past traumas, and they find a special person in each other other. I really liked the ending of this book. I still don't know what the official ending is because the audiobook and the ebook have different endings, but the gist of it is the same, and I liked both versions also. The writing was really good as well. There are a lot of quotes that I really liked, and I think I've liked it on my Goodreads profile as well. It makes me want to buy a physical copy, but we shall see. And yeah, now we move on to the 4.5 books. The first book that I'm going to talk about for the 4.5 books is The People on Platform 5. So thank you so much to Times Reads and Jamie for sending this book over to me. This one was really an unexpected, surprisingly good read. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much. And this one is essentially about a group of characters. They take the same train to work or to school every morning, the same timing and everything. So they see each other, they recognize each other, but they don't talk to each other. Until one morning, this particular character chokes on a grape, and it kind of triggers their interactions because somebody saved him. They've all experienced this together, so it's kind of like the way that they started their friendship. It's really super wholesome. I really like wholesome books, if you can tell. The concept is also really interesting as well. Like, I mean, we all take public transportation, right? And it's like, imagine if you can form friends with the people who always take the same timing trains as you on your morning commutes. It's like so cute. Okay, honestly, I don't think it's possible in Singapore, but just saying, it's a really interesting concept that I'm sure everybody has dreamed about. It's not just about that, because there's also backstories to each character as well. It's a multi-perspective story, which I really like. I really enjoyed all the different perspective chapters as well. There's also like a budding romance, character development, friendship progressions, relationship developments, and it's just super good. The front of the book also has a train route, and I thought it was quite interesting to have, but it actually also has a purpose as well. The ending of this was super cute. Okay, like, oh my gosh, really good ending. And of course there are trigger warnings for this book as well, because each character has their backstories, but it felt like a warm hug. Like, anytime I need a warm hug, I can revisit this book and reread it and feel the warm, happy vibes again. So yeah, The People on Platform 5. The next book is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. Love Hypothesis was in my favourite books of 2021, 2 years ago. So it's like fitting that Love on the Brain is on this list as well. The general plot is the same, just that the tropes are a bit different. The careers are a bit different. Love on the Brain, we follow Bee and Levi. They are working on this neuroengineering project together in NASA. It's kind of enemies to lovers. In the Love Hypothesis, it was fake dating, and it's just about women in STEM, working in STEM, and then there's a romance, but it's super cute. Ultimately, I preferred the Love Hypothesis to Love on the Brain because the ending was a little bit weird, a little bit like, huh? But other than that, it was still really good. Although the same problems that I have with Ali Hazelwood still are there, like the, oh, he's super tall, like big as a mountain, but I'm super small. Those kind of comments are in all of her books that she has written so far. So I would really like, if her future books, like Love Theoretically is coming out this year, for it not to have that being mentioned again. It's just a super fluffy, cute romance. Levi is pining for her, but B is oblivious to it. I love The Formidable Miss Cassidy by Mehan Bowie is a singlet. Don't know how happy it makes me to enjoy singlet enough to put on this list. Like, oh my gosh, this is the co-winner of the 2021 Epigram Books Fiction Prize. Well deserved. I didn't expect myself to love this so much, but I did. This one is following Miss Cassidy in 1890s Singapore. There is more to Miss Cassidy than meets the eye. She has seemed to meet her match in the businessman Mr. K. Wing Tong, whose large family requires female supervision, which is the kind that Miss Cassidy can provide. I really enjoyed it. I also read it for a video that hasn't come up yet because I am not done with that video. So there's spoilers for that video, but it's fine. I really enjoyed it because of how much I learned of my own country's culture. We follow different myths like the banana tree goal and things like that. It's really a super good plot in my opinion. The writing was really good as well. Like Pontianaks, things that I've heard growing up from like my classmates, my relatives, things like that, you know, and for it to be explored in this story and to give so much life to it with Miss Cassidy as well. Miss Cassidy has some kind of power that I don't really want to spoil, but it's really super good. I might be biased because it's like a story that I am interested in because I live in Singapore, right? But if you're interested, please give it a try. I really enjoyed it, and it's a super short book as well, 248 pages. If you need like a short book, give it a try, you know, and it's so good. It's a story that spans a few years, a few decades, and it's just about Miss Cassidy interacting with different characters that come along the way, and it's just super good. Really, really highly recommended. Next 2 books, I'm cheating here because I'm counting them as one, but yeah, they are Before the Coffee Gets Cold and Tales from the Cafe. So spoilers for my upcoming book haul because I finally have these 2 books to add to my shelves. They're so pretty, right? Oh my gosh. To talk about ratings, right? I gave Before the Coffee Gets Cold 4.25 stars and I gave Tales from the Cafe 4.5. So I will hold up Tales from the Cafe. I think I've talked about this book enough. It's about this cafe where there's a seat in the cafe where customers can sit on that would allow them to travel to a different point in time. There are a lot of different rules about this time traveling seat, but it's essentially about all the customers' stories about why they want to travel to a different point in time and what happens when they eventually do so, the lessons they've learned and things like that. It's also about the interactions between different characters in this story. So each book has 4 chapters, and each chapter we follow a main character that wants to travel to a different point in time. So we learn about all the different characters. There's also a relationship map. Let me show it to you. Okay, never mind. I just found out that my copy doesn't have a relationship map. Okay, this one it's like that. So it helps refresh your memory as well because this series ultimately 4 books, I think. I've talked about this book more than enough times. So good, and this series is quite popular in the book community as well, so this is just another voice encouraging you to pick it up if you have yet to do so. This is really like a heartwarming, make me cry kind of story. I watched the movie and I bawled. I read Tales from the Cafe and I teared up on the bus as well. Next, Thunderhead by Neil Schusterman. Scythe was on this list for 2021, so it's super fitting that this is on the 2022 list as well. This is my favourite book in the trilogy. I didn't really like The Toll because of how it ended, but Thunderhead though, oh my gosh. I cannot spoil what happens in Thunderhead because it's the second book in the series, but basically Scythe, we follow this dystopian world where humankind has progressed past the point of mortality because technology is so advanced, people cannot die anymore. But because of overpopulation and things like that, Scythe's, this new career path has been introduced and only scythes are capable of gleaning people. It's like this super secret path because you have the responsibility to decide who has the right to live and who deserves to die. And oh my god, just talking about it makes me want to reread it again. I've mentioned this many times, but I can't believe I read this in 2022. But yeah, it's so good. In the first book, we follow Rowan and Citra, who are both apprentices to Scythe Faraday, if I'm not wrong. It's unheard of because typically one scythe has one apprentice. So because of that, Rowan and Citra have been ordered to glean each other. It's kind of like competition, so whoever wins gets to remain as apprentice or get promoted to a scythe while the other gets gleaned, and so there's that element as well. There's kind of a romance as well, and it's just super good. This whole series, I don't agree with how The Toll should have ended, but I really recommend reading it because it's so good. Like the first book, Scythe, the second book, Thunderhead, oh my god, it's so good. The more I talk about it, the more I want to reread it. We shall see. So yeah, Thunderhead. They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. This is a mystery thriller about Scarlett Clark, who is an English professor. At the same time, she's also a serial killer. She chooses her targets by finding the worst man at Gorman University. And so far, she's avoided drawing attention to herself until the school eventually starts to get suspicious at the growing body count on campus. The woman in charge is Dr. Mina Pierce. So in order to escape suspicion, Scarlett tries to get closer and joins the investigation team. Things progress from there, how Scarlett is trying to avoid getting discovered while continuing her
killing spree,
trying to charm Dr. Mina Pierce as well so that she gets off her back. At the same time, there's this other perspective, Carly Schiller, who is a freshman student trying to survive her freshman year in Gorman. She quickly forms a friendship with Alison Hadley, who is her new roommate. But Alison gets sexually assaulted at a party, and from there, Alison is trying to hide it, but Carly is trying to help her to punish the people who deserves to be punished. So it's like this conflict in their relationship. We just follow these two perspectives and it's just super good. Not gonna say anymore in case I spoil anything. Just read it for yourself. There is super good queer representation. It felt very naturally represented, not forced into the story. Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Oh my gosh. Just look at all my tabs. So this one is about Victor and Eli, who are college roommates and they have a shared interest in adrenaline, near-death experiences, and this intriguing hypothesis that under the right conditions someone could develop extraordinary abilities. So they progress from just hypothesizing about it to eventually experimenting on themselves to see whether a person could develop extraordinary abilities. They do succeed, but things go horribly wrong. Victor ends up going to prison and Eli is like this hero. Both of them have extraordinary abilities, so they're called EOs, and Victor is now out of prison 10 years later, and he is determined to catch Eli and get his revenge. So along the way, he meets a young girl with a stunning ability, and he has his sidekick as well. So it's kind of like a found family, and on the other hand, Eli is on this mission to eradicate every other extraordinary EO that he can find, basically. And this one has a very good discussion on morally grey characters, essentially, and how this person may be seen as a hero, but actually he is so much worse than the villain in the story. Super good. I really like the academic setting in this as well. I heard that there's going to be a third book in this. Not sure when it's going to come out, but yes. Talking about discussion, I realized that I forgot to add something for the people on platform 5, so forgive me for suddenly going back. But this one also has an interesting discussion on how the moment you make friends with someone on your commute, what happens when you have a conflict, you know, because you have to see each other every morning for your commute. And it's kind of like this added inconvenience because then you have to factor in, like, maybe I have to leave a bit earlier so I can avoid running into this person, things like that, which really so relatable, so thought-provoking. Dao A for Aunties by Jessie Q Sutanto, another book that I think I've also talked about extensively on my channel. This one is also a comedic mystery thriller, but also as a romance as well. It's kind of like Bingley Donovan is killing it, basically. But in my opinion, I enjoy Dao A for Aunties more because of the aunties in this. Oh my gosh. Jessie Q Sutanto has grown up in Singapore as well, which is why I also like, oh my gosh, because she incorporates Singlish into her books as well. So this book is about Madeline Chan, who ends up accidentally killing her blind date, and she ropes in her aunts to help her with the body to like get rid of it. But the plot gets complicated because the body accidentally ends up on the island of the wedding that they are planning for, because they are in a wedding planner family business. So it's about them trying to make sure that the wedding that they are planning runs smoothly without a hitch, but also at the same time making sure nobody discovers the dead body. So the 4 aunties are super funny. I really highly recommend the audiobook because you can hear how the aunties' voices are like, and it just makes it so much more funny when they read the dialogue. Oh my gosh. The aunties have their own family dynamics as well, so there's 4 of them, right? I think the big aunt and the 4th aunt are like on better relationship, and then the 2nd aunt and the 3rd aunt, but I might be wrong on that. I've never really laughed at a book until I read Dao A for Aunties, so it's like, I recommend Dao A for Aunties, but I don't recommend you to read 4 Aunties and a Wedding, which is the sequel to this, because it just didn't hit as hard or even as good. I feel like you can just stop at Dao A for Aunties. It's so good. I don't want anybody who picks up Dao A for Aunties to then pick up 4 Aunties and a Wedding and then get their feelings for Dao A for Aunties tainted, but I mean, every reader's experience is different, so that's just my advice. It's also ridiculously funny, is how I would describe Dao A for Aunties. Project Hail Mary is a sci-fi, and I don't normally read sci-fi, so this came as a super pleasant surprise that I enjoyed it so much. It won Best Science Fiction in 2021 for the Goodreads Choice Awards. I'm trying not to spoil too much of this plot, but essentially it's about Ryland Grace, who wakes up and finds himself in a ship, and he can't remember why he's there. He couldn't even remember his name and things like that until a while later, so he obviously doesn't know what he's there to do, right? But slowly his memories start to return, and it comes in flashbacks as we read it, so we're finding out along with him what he's there for. He's in space. He is just trying to achieve his mission, essentially, once he remembers what it's about. But there's something in this book that came as a surprise to me, so I don't want to talk about it anymore for fear that I will spoil you, but it's really super good. I really love a certain character in this book, and it's a super long book as well, but I really enjoyed my reading experience. I also think I laughed at some points of this book, and it's just so good. Okay, last 4.5 book for the category is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. Or I can describe it as wholesome, heartwarming, fluffy mystery, I would say. Essentially, it's about Linus Baker, who is a caseworker working at the department in charge of magical youth, so he gets posted to this orphanage, Marcia's Island Orphanage, where 6 dangerous children reside. We have a gnome, a sprite, a wyvern, an unidentifiable green blob, a were Pomeranian, and the Antichrist. As as well as their caretaker Arthur. Linus's job is to determine whether this orphanage is able to continue running, because his job is to visit orphanages, and if he notices that the caretakers are abusing the children or just anything is wrong with the place, he has to shut it down for the sake of the children's well-being. Prior to this posting, he was just like an ordinary office worker just trying to live out his life, like no particular passion, nothing. But then when he goes to stay at the Masters Island orphanage for the posting, the children, the caretaker, the environment just makes his character develop, and you come to love the story so much with the characters, the setting, everything. There has been controversy for this particular book, which I have talked about in the previous video if you are interested in listening to my thoughts, but I really love this story so much. It's super magical, super heartwarming, and it's just, I feel like a book that I would want to have on my shelves. Last 7 books, we have our 4.75 star, which is A Magic Steeped in Poison by Judy E. Lin. Still super pretty, oh my gosh. Another book that I've talked about extensively on my channel. In this story, we follow Ning, who has joined this competition to determine the best Shen Nong Tu, which is like a tea making apprentice. The winner will become the royal court's official Shen Nong Shi, the tea making master. So she joined this competition because she wants the prize, which is to receive a favor from the princess, because she wants the favor to have access to the royal physicians to help her sister, because her sister, she has this illness that is plaguing her. In this story, we have the competition element as well as the romance and this mystery. There's this mystery because nobody knows who is behind the poison that has been spreading throughout the city that her sister is also under. It's super magical, written by a Taiwanese author, Judy E. Lin. My first read of it was just super magical. I read it really quickly. It just made me really happy. The descriptions of food in this are also super good. Like every time I read this, I had to make sure I wasn't hungry because the descriptions are really mouth-wateringly good. That's why it's on this list. The sequel, however, I didn't particularly enjoy. So if you pick up this book, I have to warn you that the sequel isn't as good in my opinion. But this book though is just so good. Now we move on to our 5 stars. The first one is going to be Your Letter, which is actually a webtoon webcomic. This one is super short. It's like 10 episodes around there. It's about Sori, who is a super caring, special young girl, but unfortunately she has been bullied in middle school after she stood up for her classmate that was being bullied. She transfers to a new school to escape from it, but unfortunately it's not that simple, so like the same problems start again in the new school until she discovers a scavenger hunt kind of thing. So she finds a letter which leads to another letter. It leads Sori on a magical scavenger hunt through her middle school, so she sees her middle school in like a new light. So she's trying to meet this person who gave her this trail of letters essentially to help her time at school be better, and along the way she also forms close friendship with a particular character in the story. It's just really like a story of friendship, and I really wasn't expecting myself to enjoy it as much as I did. So again, if you need a short read, a good short read, pick this up. Next book is Still Alice by Lisa Genova. Such a small copy. It's about Alice Howland, who is 50 years old. She's a cognitive psychology professor at Harvard. She has a successful husband, 3 grown children. Everything in life is just going quite well for her. Not the best, but it's like quite good, a good place that she's in. But she suddenly starts forgetting things. So it can be like, why is this thing on my to-do list? I have no recollection. Or to even more serious matters, she likes to go running. She has always managed to find her way home, but once she was in Harvard Square, which is near her workplace and her home, but she cannot figure out how to go home. So she has been diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's disease, and it's just the story of her diagnosis, how her family takes it, how she herself takes it, how her disease progresses. and how the relationships between her and her children, her and her husband change all because of this disease. And it's like super sad because it's like so scary how she went from this to this because of her disease, and it's super real because people in real life are facing this. Instantly 5 stars because I read it super quickly. I didn't want to put the book down, I wanted to find out what happened. It's just heartbreakingly good. Home Before Dark by Riley Sager is my first Riley Sager. I think this is the first horror I've read, and it's so good. This story is about Maggie. She and her parents moved into this house 25 years ago, this Victorian estate in the woods. They only spent 3 weeks in there before they fled the house. The father is an author, so he later recounted their story in a non-fiction book called The House of Horrors, which was like a best-selling book everywhere. Everybody heard of this book. Today, 25 years later, Maggie is a restorer of old homes, and she's too young to remember any of the events that happened in the book. But she herself doesn't believe in it because the book talked about like ghostly paranormal things. But then when she inherits Bainbury Hall, which is the mansion that they lived in after her father's death, she returns to renovate the house to prepare it for sale because she's a restorer of old homes. But then that's when things start to happen. So she starts to believe that the things mentioned in her father's book were more fact than fiction. And it's just this horror, paranormal things happening, mystery, thriller. Super good. Couldn't stop reading it. 5 stars. 17A Kyung-sik Road is also a singlet book by Charmaine Leong. This one is non-fiction, so I don't rate non-fiction, which now I'm realizing I should have put it somewhere else in this video, but it's fine. It's fine. I feel like this is a good place for the book to be in. This book I also read for a video that has yet to come out, so spoilers, but it's okay. This one is a memoir on Charmaine Leong's experiences growing up in 17A Kyung-sik Road, where it was a prominent red light precinct in Chinatown, Singapore in the 1970s. Again, I really enjoyed this because of how I can learn about my own country's history, customs and traditions, as well as the food. Oh my gosh, I've never like mouth watered at Singapore's food in a book before, but this book made me do so, and it's just wow, like oh my gosh. And I really empathize for many of the characters as well. So it's a book that I think about and I would like to own on my shelves one day. I really recommend you to pick it up if you're interested in Singapore's history. It's really not boring. I don't really read non-fiction because of how boring it gets sometimes, but this one really didn't feel that way. Second last book is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. It won the Best Memoir and Autobiography for the Goodreads Choice Awards 2022. I'm sure you have heard of this book because it's been talked about everywhere, but it's basically Jeanette McCurdy's memoir of her struggles as a former child actor and how she had to deal with her overbearing mother. So if you didn't know, Jeanette McCurdy was the actress in iCarly and Sam and Cat. So if you watch Nickelodeon, you would have known her. And it's really like a heartbreaking story because how her mother treated her. It really makes me so angry and so frustrated. Many trigger warnings for this book, so don't pick it up if you're not comfortable, but I really won't forget my reading experience reading this. I think this is my favorite memoir of everything that I've read so far. It's not a lot, but it's my favorite so far, and the writing is also really good. Please read it if you are comfortable with it. Okay, the last book already. I'm sure you would know what it is because I've talked about this book so many times. But basically, Lonely Castle in the Mirror by Mizuki Sujimura. Let's look at how beautiful it is. It's a fantasy. We follow a group of children who don't go to school. One day, the mirrors in their rooms light up and they find themselves in this castle. That's why it's Lonely Castle in the Mirror. They are confronted with a set of clues leading to a hidden room where one of them will contain a key. So when you get the key, you will be granted a wish. But once the wish is granted, the castle will vanish along with all the memories they have had of their adventure. And also there's another thing, if they fail to leave the castle by 5 PM every afternoon, they will be eaten by the keeper of the castle, an easily provoked and shrill creature named the Wolf Queen. Oh my gosh, the relationships they formed with each other in this book. The discussions of why they didn't want to go to school. The writing is so good. I also cried at the last few pages. The story is so beautiful, and it's translated fiction. Like, I still love the writing so much. It's really a book that has trigger warnings but is super heartwarming, makes you have a lot of hope in you after you read it. This book is kind of magical realism as well, and I don't really enjoy that in books, but I love this book so much. to the core. I have a copy now. I'm excited to reread it, understand the story more, and annotate it and tab it, and just it's so good. So yeah, these are all the books that I have enjoyed in 2022. Let me try to show them to you. It makes me so happy to like recount all my reading experiences reading these books. I'm really happy because I feel like at the start during my yearbook freakout tag, I was saying how my reading year wasn't the best.
Flashback.
Question: best book you've read so far in 2022? It is going to be Lonely Castle in the Mirror. It has also been my only 5-star as of date for 2022. So if you're here from Bookstagram, you would have seen my review, I think, of Lonely Castle in the Mirror, where I was saying how it's only January and I've already read my first 5-star of 2022. Like, how is this possible? The year is going great. And yeah, ever since then I haven't had another 5-star. So this is a bit sad, but it's okay. I will have faith in the second half of the year that we will have more 5 stars.
End of flashback.
And then now at the end of the year, I suddenly have so many good books that I cannot contain into one list. It's like, oh my gosh. So yeah, this video has gone on for way too long already. So if you're still watching, please comment a champion emoji, because these are the best books that I've read in 2022. What was your favorite book of 2022? Leave me some recommendations in the comments as well if you're still watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel for more of such content. I hope you're having a great day or a great week whenever or wherever you're watching. Remember to hydrate yourselves. I hope we all have a great 2023 together. I have more of my wrapping up 2022 videos coming your way, so just be patient with me. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video.